What is up, guys? It is Josh. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are ranking the nicest looking and ugliest motorcycles of 2024. So guys, as you can see in front of you, we have 6 different classes of motorcycles. We have elite motorcycles. These are the top dogs, the best of the best design. These are the motorcycles. They're going to be few and far between. Right under that, we have class motorcycles. Underneath that, we have motorcycles that we would consider are decent bike. They're just so-so. Underneath that, we have the meh class of motorcycles. Underneath that, we have a pass. These are motorcycles that we're just not interested in at all. And then underneath that, the very lowest, you guys know some bikes are going to go in that category, are the garbage class of motorcycles that should not have even been made. They are hideous. I can't believe that they are actually made. So we're going to get into all of that and more today. We have about 30 different motorcycles that we are going to rank for you guys. We're going to move through some of them quickly. Some of them we're going to camp out on a little bit. So stick along for the journey. Let's get into this. All right, guys. Well, first up, we have the BMW S1000RR. What a motorcycle. This is an amazing bike to start with. I will say that it's not something that's out of the charts crazy. It is a very, very well-designed bike, though. There is a lot of good technical aspects behind this bike. It is a fast revving inline 4-cylinder engine bike in the super bike category. For those of you guys that have been along on the channel for a long time, you know that I have personally owned one of these motorcycles, so I'm a little bit biased, but I think for this bike, we are going to rank it in it's going to be in the class section. This is a bike that isn't necessarily the best designed super bikes in the world. I think we're going to get into some of those in a little bit in the video, but it's certainly not the worst. I think BMW has done a really good job in kind of hitting the middle ground, not things that are too polarizing in design, but certainly not something that's borderline ugly like the Yamahas and their horrible headlights. But we're going to get into that a little bit more. So for the first bike up, the BMW S1000RR, we have it in the class category. All right, next up, we have the Yamaha Tenere 700. This is a bike, it's been very, very popular as of recent. In the adventure bike community, this bike has kind of had a bit of a resurgence. Look, it's a good looking bike. I really don't think there's a lot of adventure bikes that are going to be ranked super high in terms of design. It's certainly not ugly. It's kind of just right in the middle, and for that reason, I am gonna have to put this in the meh category. Maybe decent. All right, we're gonna leave it in the decent category. It's not a bad looking motorcycle, but it's just not great. It doesn't have a lot of good design aspects to it. It's just kind of well, a little bit meh. I don't know. I feel bad. I can't put a Yamaha Tenere 700 in the decent or in the meh category. Okay, next up we have a Harley-Davidson. All right, so this one shouldn't come as too big of a shock. We have the brand new Harley-Davidson Sportster S motorcycle. And I mean, guys, what are we doing, Harley-Davidson? You guys have made a series of different motorcycles over the past couple years. It seems like your motorcycles are getting uglier and uglier, not better. This one, you know, first of all, let me just say, this is not a Sportster motorcycle. It has a completely different engine. It's a complete overhaul. This motorcycle is a $17,000 motorcycle, but we're not going to let the price factor too much into this. We're just purely going off of design. This bike is modern, it's sleek, it has new lines to it, but frankly, it's not a Sportster. It is just kind of an in-between. It's semi-futuristic. It doesn't really lean on the Harley-Davidson brand that much, and for that reason, it is going to be put in the pass section. I just can't endorse this motorcycle. I've seen a couple riding around. People don't look comfortable on it. You have huge forward controls. You're kind of leaned out a lot like this. It's not good, guys. I don't know. This is not a good motorcycle. Leave me a comment down below if you agree or disagree about the Harley-Davidson Sportster S motorcycle. Okay, next up on the list, we have a 2024 Yamaha MT-09. This is going to be one of the most popular naked bikes today. I see more of these bikes going around the road, especially here in Southern California, than almost any other bike. And look, it's a decent looking bike. It has good lines. The colored wheels are a little bit polarizing for people. I don't love the headlight design of Yamaha's. I think it's one of their worst qualities. They kind of look like bug eyes. But overall, the bike has good lines, good symmetry. This is kind of just it's a good bike, and because of its popularity in the motorcycle world, we are going to label this bike in the decent category. It can't quite be class, but it's decent. It's decent. Okay, so moving right along, we have the KTM 1390 Super Duke R Evo motorcycle. KTM makes some of the most aggressive looking motorcycles. They're all about aesthetics. They're all about performance. If you have been on a KTM bike, these bikes just literally want to rip your arms off. They are so cool, so powerful, so edgy. This bike is futuristic looking. The only thing I'll say about this motorcycle is these motorcycles, you are going to pay north of $22,000, but you're getting an almost 1400 cc crazy naked bike. This bike we are going to put into the class section of motorcycle. It's polarizing. People turn their heads when you ride by on this motorcycle. You absolutely can't miss it. A great job in design. Good job KTM at taking a chance and really knocking it out of the park on motorcycle designs. You deserve to be in the class category. We have the Honda Africa V-Twin. To me, there's just not a lot right with this bike. It's hard. I don't think there's a lot of adventure bikes that necessarily look really, really good. I think the BMW GS 1250 was a good platform. I think we're going to get into this a little bit later, but the GS 1300 looks good and decent, but most of these bikes just stock out of the factory. Frankly, the wheels look too small in proportion for the body. The suspension looks weird. It's really high up. I understand the purpose. I'm an adventure bike rider, but it does not make the motorcycle look good. I get that you can put a lot of stuff onto these bikes. You can make them look decent, but we are not ranking that based on its potential to look good. We are ranking them exactly how they look good right now. Honda Africa Twin motorcycle is going to be, it's not garbage, but it definitely pass. Okay, next up on the list, we have the Triumph Bonneville T100 motorcycle. Guys, what an amazing bike with what an amazing legacy. We don't talk a lot about the Triumph brand. It's a brand that often gets overlooked, but in my opinion, Triumph consistently has some of the best designed motorcycles, especially as you get into the Bonneville class of motorcycle. I want to put it in elite. I don't know if we can put an elite bike this soon, so we're going to go with class. We're going to put this in the class section of motorcycle. Okay, moving right along, we have the Indian Springfield Classic motorcycle. Look guys, Indian motorcycle, if you're listening, make better motorcycles. This bike is ugly. It looks stuck in time. This is a motorcycle that people would have wanted 20, 30 years ago. Every brand needs to be focused on the future generation, what you are going to be doing in the future, attracting new customers. And guys, I can tell you, the only people that want this motorcycle are probably not going to be riding motorcycles for that much longer, because frankly, they're getting too old to ride bikes. This bike doesn't look good. It's huge. It's literally almost 900 pounds. This is more like a museum showpiece than a modern motorcycle. For that, we are putting this bike in the past section. All right, guys, next up, we have a classic. We have a bike that is so amazing. It goes without saying, when you see these bikes, if you are a true motorcycle person and you see one of these bikes going down the road and you do not stop to admire this motorcycle, you don't know what the heck you're talking about in the motorcycle industry. Next up, we have the Suzuki DR650 motorcycle. And while I have talked a little bit of trash about adventure bikes so far, this bike is absolutely amazing. The heritage that it has. Suzuki has been doing enduro motorcycles almost longer than anybody. The bike is simple. It's not trying to be something it's not. It's not looking to the future. It's not looking to the past. It's almost just, it's a capsule of a bike that is stuck in time. And for that, the first bike on this list that is going in the elite tier is the Suzuki DR650 motorcycle. There you have it, guys. All right, guys. And next up, we do have another Suzuki. It's the Hayabusa. And guys, here's the thing. A bike can be well-known, a bike can be iconic, and a bike can still be absolutely hideous. Guys, the Hayabusa, if you look at it objectively, it's bubbly, the lines aren't good, the fenders are weird. This bike just honestly looks like a 7th grader's mistake of a design project. And for that, I'm sorry. I know this is gonna make some people mad, but the Hayabusa is going in the garbage category. Guys, the motorcycle's hideous. I'm sorry. Don't leave me your hate mail. I like the concept. I like how iconic the bike is, but the bike is absolutely hideous. And on that train, guys, we have another bike that I will just say, while it's popular for some riders and demographics, we have the Honda Goldwing motorcycle. a motorcycle that I'll say is an absolute blast to ride. If you have never ridden a motorcycle with a 6-cylinder engine, it is incredible. Guys, the amount of torque it has, the noise it makes, obviously the comfort that you're going to get in the Honda Goldwing platform, but the motorcycle is absolutely hideous. Guys, Honda, if you're listening, take the motorcycle, take all the internals, take all the electronics, the engine, the comfort, everything that you're doing, and make a better designed motorcycle so that maybe by the next time your motorcycle does not go in the garbage category. All right, next up, we have an Indian motorcycle. We have the Scout 60 bike. Look, this bike's a fine bike, guys. It's a cruiser motorcycle. It's kind of middle of the road. Indian has done a lot of bikes that look like this. I'll say, while I was a little bit harsh on the Springfield Classic, this bike is, I mean, it's just kind of, it's meh. It's right in the middle. There you go. Whatever. We're not even going to talk about that bike a lot. Oh my goodness. Next up, we have a motorcycle that is very, very polarizing. The gas tank shape, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's at least interesting, guys. They at least took a chance. I know some people aren't going to like this motorcycle. Some people might really like it. It's kind of trying to pay homage to like the old classic chopper motorcycles of its day. The bike is, there's a lot of weird space in between the frame. Honda Fury motorcycle. This motorcycle, I kind of just don't know what to do with this motorcycle. Honestly, I don't like that it's kind of ugly still. This is going to go in the meh category. Okay, next up, we have the BMW F900 GS motorcycle. This is one of the new bikes that just came out this year. Started to see a couple that have hit showrooms, and this bike is, I mean, it's decent, guys. It's a good motorcycle. It has good proportions. It has good colors on it. Yeah, it's a decent bike. I don't know what else to say about it. All right. This is a little bit of an interesting bike, a little bit of a less well-known motorcycle. This is going to be the Kawasaki W800 motorcycle. I've actually only seen a couple of these motorcycles in real life, and every time I see them, I'm always blown away. I'm like, Kawasaki is making this motorcycle. Honestly, this bike looks like something that Triumph would make. It is a great motorcycle. It has great proportions, great lines. The wheels are good. The attention to detail is phenomenal. If you've ever seen the paint in person, this bike is really, really good. I'm tempted to put it in elite, guys. It's not quite there, but it is definitely in the class category. Great job, Kawasaki. I'm sure not a lot of people saw this coming, but you guys deserve it. This bike should be a lot more popular than it is. You are making a great designed motorcycle in the W800. My hat is off to you. All right, next up, we have the Ducati Desert X with its weird circle headlights and a lot of different colors on the bike, and it kind of is having an identity crisis. And look, I know it's popular and it's caused a lot of waves, and the adventure community loves it, and it's a fine motorcycle. I've ridden this bike in real life. I like the bike just fine. For me, it's just going to be in the meh category of design. I don't know. All right, moving on. We have the KTM 500 EXCF. This is going to be an enduro motorcycle, probably similar to the Suzuki DR650 bike. And I am a little bit biased because I currently own one of these motorcycles right now. But look, I'll be the first to say that my bike looked nothing like this motorcycle does stock. If you guys have seen my bike, you have seen it has a completely different plastic kit on it. It has different wheels, different everything. I spent far too much money customizing this motorcycle to make it look really, really good. And so while it pains me to do this, KTM 500s are a great motorcycle out of the box design-wise. They're going in the meh category. KTM, you can do better. All right, guys. Next up, we have the brand new BMW GS 1300 motorcycle. Look, this bike it's a good looking motorcycle. It has good lines. It's futuristic. They definitely did a good job at paying homage to the old motorcycles of the GS heritage while still kind of pushing the envelope, giving you something new. I do think that the headlight on this motorcycle blatantly copies a 911's headlights, but that's a different story for a different day. Definitely took some design inspiration from that, but look, it's a good looking motorcycle. We're gonna put it in the decent category. Now, its older brother, the GS 1300 Adventure that BMW released, is that bike on this list? I don't think that bike's on this list because it would have gone in the garbage category. BMW, you can do better. If you guys have seen the GS 1300 Adventure, It is the ugliest, most obnoxious, boxy, horrific design of a motorcycle. They honestly should have just done a lot better job at taking the GS 1300 bike and making a little bit more adventure focused, but they didn't. The bike is hideous. BMW, you should be ashamed of yourself. All right, next up we have the KTM 890 Adventure R. This isn't a bike that I really care about all that much, honestly. The gas tank on this motorcycle is actually mounted way, way down low on the bike, so that gives you a lower center of gravity. It's a lot of fun to ride. The 890 has a ton of torque, probably has more power than anybody actually needs off-road. The bike is very expensive for what it is. Part availability is sometimes hard to get on these bikes, but overall the bike looks decent for an adventure bike. I don't love it, I don't hate it, so it's going to go in the decent category. Next up we have the BMW K1600B motorcycle. That B of course stands for the bagger allocation of this motorcycle, and this bike is a whopping $30,000 for a motorcycle. And while I've talked a lot of trash on expensive motorcycles, I'll say that this motorcycle is at least fun to ride. It has one of those 6-cylinder engines in it. Of course, BMW is coming with all of the technology, everything with it. But what is up with motorcycle manufacturers? Can you not make a good designed 6-cylinder engine motorcycle? Because look, they are a ton of fun. Arguably, it's one of my favorite engines to ride in the motorcycle world, but they are my least favorite designed motorcycles. Guys, make a better motorcycle. For that, BMW, it pains me to do this. You're a little bit better than the Goldwing, but not much. You're barely skating by. You are in the pass category for the K1600 bagger motorcycle. Okay, next up we have the Suzuki Boulevard C50T motorcycle. Look guys, this isn't a motorcycle that I would necessarily expect to come out of Suzuki. It's a good motorcycle. It definitely is pulling from an older era of motorcycle. It's not hideous like the Indian Springfield. Every time I look at the Indian Springfield, I'm inclined to put it in garbage. And honestly guys, it's going in. Sorry, I changed my mind. The Indian Springfield, you are going in the garbage section. Because guess what? Suzuki Boulevard, you have made a bike that is decent. There's nothing wrong with it. It has good lines. Indian, take a page from Suzuki's playbook. And if you're going to make a classic motorcycle, at least make something that looks good, that people would want to actually buy. Suzuki, my hat is off to you guys. You are getting put in the decent section for your Boulevard C50T motorcycle. All right, guys. Well, next up, we have another motorcycle that needs no introduction. This bike, of course, is the Kawasaki KLR 650 bike. This is a motorcycle that will probably outlive all of us. You've seen them cross the entire globe. These bikes are indestructible. It is a single-cylinder putter of an engine of a motorcycle. It sounds a lot like a lawnmower, but by gosh, these motorcycles do not break. And while the motorcycles don't break, their design could use a lot of help. These bikes are definitely getting put in the meh category. It pains me to say it, but again, we're not ranking the bikes based on performance, based on price, based on reliability. Purely from a design standpoint, the bike is meh. All right, next up we have Indian's FTR. This is specifically the Roland Sands Hoonigan collab motorcycle. This bike is absolutely amazing. A little bit not fair because this bike has been customized from the original FTR 1200 that Indian makes, but it is a motorcycle that you can buy from a dealership. So this bike is absolutely great. Anything that Roland Sands design touches is typically amazing. This bike is class. It is absolutely great to look at. And for that reason, Indian has their first motorcycle in the class section. There you go. Okay, moving right along, we have a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. We have, of course, the Harley-Davidson Softail motorcycle. Look, it's a fine bike. Harley-Davidson, this is kind of a middle-of-the-road bike. I would say for a lot of people, this is probably an entry-level motorcycle for Harley-Davidson. Still has one of their older platform engines. They haven't done a lot of upgrades to it. It's a good bike. It's decent, and for that reason, it is getting put in the decent class of motorcycle. Great job, Harley-Davidson, on that motorcycle, because the next one is one of the ugliest motorcycles that Harley-Davidson has ever put out. This bike should literally not exist as a motorcycle. Harley-Davidson, What are you doing with the brand new Road Glide 3? It's almost an embarrassment to call this a motorcycle. This is a trike. This is not a motorcycle. This bike is hideous. It is just, it looks like somebody has given up in life and is holding on for dear life to be called some semblance of a motorcycle rider. Oh my gosh, guys. Just the wheels on this, the spacing between the frame and the front tire, the amount of rake it has, the position of the handlebars. Ugh, gosh, the bike is garbage. Harley-Davidson, you deserve every lick of that. Do better. Don't make trikes. This bike stinks. Get over it. And guess what? The next motorcycle here is one of the best bikes that Harley-Davidson has put out in a long time. Funny enough, they actually call it a Road Glide, but this, of course, is the Road Glide CVO ST motorcycle. So this is going to be a more performance-oriented bagger motorcycle. Comes with a ton of carbon fiber, has a more aggressive stance on it, has a suspension, has a beautiful paint job on it. This bike, while it absolutely costs a small fortune to buy, this bike, in fact, is $43,000 if you can find one without dealer markup, and that is a big if. This bike has an absolutely amazing design, the attention to detail, the aftermarket mufflers on it, all of the carbon fiber, everything they have done to this motorcycle. This bike is absolutely a class motorcycle and deserves to be in that category. Oh, Indian, what are we going to do with you? Next, we have Indian's just sorry excuse for a big touring motorcycle. This is the Indian Roadmaster Elite motorcycle. Look, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's decent. Look, it's decent. And largely it's decent because I've seen how bad of a motorcycle that Indian can make in the Springfield Classic, but we've also seen how good of a motorcycle they can make with the FTR 1200. If you had to go across the country on a motorcycle, this would be a decent motorcycle to pick from a design standpoint. Moving on. All right, guys. Well, next up, we have arguably one of the best brands from a design standpoint for motorcycles. We have Ducati, of course. You know them for the red color. You know them for how mean their bikes sound, the meaty V-engine motorcycles that are producing. And now next up, we have the Ducati Street Fighter V4, specifically the SP2 motorcycle. This bike has a beautiful juxtaposition of raw metal finish with really, really nice painted parts. There's carbon fiber on this bike. The bike is absolutely stunning. This is an amazing bike, and for that, it goes in the class category. And then shortly behind it, we have the Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak Edition. What a mouthful. Guys, I mean, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it 1,000 times. The adventure motorcycles just don't have that great of design language in them. Companies need to do better, in my opinion. This bike, it's just meh. It's a meh bike. I don't love it. I don't hate it. Whatever. It's there. Last but not least, this is a little bit difficult because it's technically discontinued right now, but I felt like we had to throw it in here. This is the Ducati Panigale Superleggera V4. This motorcycle is absolutely gorgeous. This is the pinnacle of super bikes. The bike has, of course, its stunning red. It is absolutely a monster of a motorcycle. This bike comes in at a whopping $100,000, but set the price aside for a second. The bike is absolutely gorgeous. The design language on this bike, everything about this bike is absolutely wonderful. It is one of the perfect bikes. The swing arm on this, the wheels, the paint job, the lines of this motorcycle. For that reason, this bike, the Ducati Superleggera, goes into the elite class in rarefied air with the Suzuki DR650 motorcycle. And that is it, guys. That is all of the main motorcycles from 2024 that we have ranked. I am curious to hear what you guys think about this motorcycle choice. What are some bikes that you would have put in the garbage section? What are some bikes you would have put at the elite section? Be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you like videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. We are dropping videos like this all the time. Your support goes a long way. Thank you guys. Till we meet again. Peace.